show was so successful that it spawned an animated feature-length movie, The Secret of the Sword, which would lead onto a spin-off series, She-Ra, Princess of Power. This spin-off would only have
That's the first outtake.
There we go. The show was so... So each one of the Manchines are a different pastel colour and have their own gimmick. So one of them has wheels, others can fly, one of them can turn his hands into buzzsaws, etc. It does make you wonder if Filmation were testing the waters to see if they could do another animated cartoon series, possibly starring the Manchines and the Monstroids, but I think it's safe to say that that idea backfired.
They do look completely ridiculous and out of place in a He-Man cartoon, but then again so does Prince Adam in a Santa Claus suit, and that didn't stop them from showing us that later on. Oops, spoilers. I'm very surprised that these characters didn't catch on. I mean, in the 80s, if something was marginally successful, there would be a toy line, there'd be a Saturday morning cartoon, a breakfast cereal, a full line of merchandise. They'd even get like a song that would get released on vinyl and cassette tape, like what the Care Bears got. So I can't believe that there aren't any Manchine toys or collectible figures, considering how many of them we see in this special, and some of them even get named.
Oh, yeah.
So what were you doing with these guys? You know, I totally could have seen these guys showing up as a toy in a McDonald's Happy Meal or a Kinder Surprise egg. Yeah. It's like, if you're going to feature them in this Christmas special, do something.
You want to try and monetize them.
Yeah, do something with them.
Do something. Anywho.
In 2018, She-Ra got her own rebooted series on Netflix, and this year alone we've had two very separate, very different Masters of the Universe cartoon series going on Netflix. We've had Masters of the Universe Revelation, which was sort of under the watchful eye of Kevin Smith and was very much tied to people that watched the cartoon back in the 80s.
Actually, literally, sort of, you know, it was a direct sequel.
A direct sequel.
The actual original 80s cartoon.
And it was just full of like references to everything from the cartoon, the toy line, the movie. There's a couple of times where Skeletor says, "Let this be our final battle," you know, shamelessly pandering to 40-year-old farts like us.
Yeah.
And then you had another Netflix series simply called He-Man and the Master of the Universe, which was more of a CGI animated affair. Looked a little bit like the Clone Wars and the Bad Batch and what have you, and was geared more towards children. Although, funnily enough, I ended up watching that as well and enjoying it.
I haven't seen that yet. Wait a second. Masters of the Universe Revelation. Oh, you mean those 2 episodes of the programme that you did without me?
Yes. Do you want to cover Revelation in
Go on. I was just making the point that you decided to do... Yeah, okay, fine, fair enough. We've got He-Man. We're doing the He-Man He-Man related episode now, but, you know... You didn't ask me to come on and do Revelations, did you?
Okay, well, I mean, we've got part 1 and part 2 now. We've got the two parts together, so we could do a full series retrospective if you wanted. Mine was more like, right, okay, what went wrong and what went right with part 1, because it was fairly problematic.
Yeah.
And then part 2 was like, right, okay, is part 2 better than part 1? So that was more of a bit of an analysis / rant rather than a review.
I'll tell you something. I'll let you off. I'll let you off with that, and I'll just say this. Here's my Masters of the Universe Revelations review. It's really good. I enjoyed it. Please watch it. It's great.
And don't listen to the haters.
Yeah, don't listen to the haters. Yeah.
So. We spoke about Skeletor's minions earlier. Now let's talk about Hordax. We see them very briefly on board this helicopter, and straight away I recognise Modulok and Multi-Bot, which I used to love playing with back in the day. The action figures for both of these characters both consisted of numerous different body parts which could be locked together in many different ways, especially if you had both of the toys. I had hours of fun with these two characters, but unfortunately in this special they are both completely outstaged because they're sat next to Catra, who tends to dress in very little clothing and purrs like a cat, so I very much doubt that anyone noticed them.
Yeah, but then Hordak shows up again in a new ship and shoots down Skeletor to the snowy mountains.
Right, so Hordak's got this enormous jet fighter
Yeah.
that's got his face all over it.
Yeah.
I mean, practically every single Horde vehicle has got Hordak's face on it. He's got such an ego on him. Yet Skeletor is able to completely disable the ship with a single blast from his Sky Sled, which is only like a small vehicle. Meanwhile, Hordak needs to shoot Skeletor's Sky Sled twice in order to bring it down, which again offers very little protection, and if you remember it from the toy line, it was actually a smaller part of a much bigger toy, the Battle Ram. Hordak, if I was you, I'd spend less time putting my face on your spaceship and more time in actually fitting some decent armour plating on it. All these people keep running in and either rescuing or kidnapping these poor kids within the space of 5 minutes. There's more run-ins than a Vince Russo book match in WCW in 2000.
Whoa, hang on. You still managed to get a pro wrestling reference into a Christmas special this year then?
Yep.
Are you proud of yourself?
Yes. So all of the goodies have a right good old laugh as we get a scene transition back to the Pants of Eternia. But to be honest, I would have liked to have stayed at that scene just a little bit longer to see what happens. I mean, we've obviously made reference to Austin Powers a few times. There's a scene in Austin Powers where all the baddies start laughing, and rather than transitioning to the next scene, it just basically gets to the point where it's like, oh. Anyway, I'd have liked to have seen a scene like that where everyone laughs for a bit until it gets awkward, and then there's a difficult pause before Skeletor says, any chance I could get a ride back to Snake Mountain, please? Are we setting the ground here for a potential He-Man trilogy on our channel? You know, doing this, Secret of the Sword, and the 1987 film. You know,
yeah, it's a possibility.
It's possible. It could happen. It could happen.
I like that idea. I like that idea.
Prince Adam's pet green tiger Cringer is there, alias Battle Cat, but this is the only time we will see him. There'll be no riding Battle Cat into action for this episode. Oh no, we've got new toys to sell. Orko suggests that they warm up inside his crashed spaceship, and the kids are quick to jump on board. I doubt if I would have been as keen to follow someone with pointy blue ears with no legs that can float above the ground, but hey, what do I know?
Back on Eternia, everyone finally realises that Orko is missing after they find his spell book, which Queen Marlena claims that Orko is never without, which is interesting considering that he's never been seen before in the, 200 odd episodes of the programme.
Orko's never without his spell book. Well, that's a fucking lie. So she agrees to ask She-Ra for a little help. Once there,
She-Ra and Swiftwind make a point to explain that these robots can transform into other forms. Oh, no, try that again.
So what he's guaranteeing here is, right, okay, whichever one of you two brings me the spirit of Christmas, you know, you'll become my number one, you'll be well rewarded. All he's guaranteed here is that rather than the two of them working together to please their master, Skeletor and Hordak are going to end up competing against each other. And the way these two villains argue, it's like they're the worst married couple possible who just found out they're going to be on hang on.
Take a swig.
That's Manchine.